You're the man. Your pitch, amazing, amazing. To nailing it. To nailing it.
Yes.
Welcome to ShortList.com.
Thank you.
So your new film, Shame, is about a guy struggling with sex addiction. It's not something I've ever seen tackled in a film before. I don't think it really has been, not in mainstream films anyway. Was it quite tough to get people behind the project because of that?
No, I think because of hunger, people were willing to sort of take a chance again with us. So it was one of those lucky situations, really.
Because a lot of people don't really take sex addiction that seriously and see it as an actual addiction. Were you kind of worried they might see a handsome guy having lots of sex and not really feel much sympathy for him?
Well, I think it's not necessarily about, you know, again, it's not about he's lucky. Okay, he's lucky. But if he's lucky, why is he sort of ruining himself within this situation? It's to do with addiction. Addiction afflicts any and everyone. I mean, it would have been sort of cliche to put this sort of, you know, a sort of so-called whatever that is, an unattractive man who sort of is sort of masturbating over sort of images of women or going out and get prostitutes. That would have been the cliche thing to do. And in fact, that would have been a situation where it's not. The people that I've experienced and the people I've sort of come to know and come to sort of talk to about sexual addiction, they're like you, like me. There's normal people who have this affliction, just like an alcoholic or a drug addict is. But what they have is this innate situation with most addicts where they're very good at hiding things, and they wear masks over their faces. I mean, it's out there, and it's an epidemic.
Your character in the film, he sort of, you know, tries to keep it under wraps in front of his colleagues and the people who know him.
No, I think that's just the reality. You know, I think like an alcoholic doesn't have a bottle of whiskey sitting on their office table. They'll have it in the bottom drawer, and they'll have various ways to sort of disguise the smell on their breath. Even though it's very hard to disguise, they're sometimes fooling themselves or lying to themselves as much as they are to those around them, because to face up to the fact is a pretty serious, it involves serious consequences. How are you going to go about fixing this, let alone sort of seeing that you have the problem? So I think, you know, as the sort of film goes through, we see that Brandon sort of, by the time he's on the pier, he realizes just the full extent of the problem, that he needs to sort of, you know, face it and deal with it. But you know, that's just sort of part and parcel of the condition. You're there. Like, my job is just to serve the character, and I kept him very close to myself, primarily for those reasons that Steve was saying. You know, it's like this is not a guy to be ostracized from me or disconnected from me. This is somebody that you would recognize in your workplace or lives in the same building as you. Just an everyday guy, one of us. As opposed to sort of, that's that crowd over there. They're sex addicts, by the way, and you can tell by the raincoats they're wearing and their funny haircuts and greasy,
Sure.
Palms or whatever it is. You know,
he didn't want to make him into a freak, just a normal person.
What was the trick to sort of making the sex scenes in the film seem so unsexy? Because I think a lot of people, because of the subject matter, will go along thinking it's going to be an erotic film, and the sex scenes are so sort of sad. I found uncomfortable to watch. And how do you sort of manage that?
I don't necessarily think, you know, when you go to a movie or a situation where you're thinking to yourself, okay, if it's got sex in the film, it's got to be sexy. It's a situation where within an addiction, it becomes unattractive. I mean, doing drugs to some extent can be fun. You sort of drinking alcohol to some extent can be fun, but then at a certain point, it turns to something else. Then it becomes ugly, as you say. Then it becomes sort of addictive, as you say. And therefore, that's when the sex was happens to Brandon with sex. But of course, this is another thing with sex, where, you know, you can't divorce it from humans, from our nature. You know, we're here to sort of, you know, procreate and have sex and whatnot. With drugs and alcohol, this is a different thing altogether. You can actually stop drinking and stop taking drugs if you're an addict. But with a sex addiction, it's this very tricky negotiation.
It's where the choice is taken out as well. You know, it's like the condition is dictating to you your actions and where you're putting yourself, and the sort of scenarios that Brandon finds himself in are dictated to by his addiction. You know, and that's, I think, where the shame comes in. It's like, I'm no longer in control of my physical actions. And that's a pretty sort of dangerous place to be in, a scary place and a shameful place. You know, it's where people sort of talked about it's not promiscuity, it's beyond that. It's a condition that's all encompassing. Every part of his day is sort of obsessed with this condition. So it's like the fact that he can't get through a day in the office without, going and masturbating in the bathroom. He doesn't want to be in that scenario. He knows that it's dangerous looking at pornography on the internet at work. He's not an idiot, but the desire and the urge overwhelms the reason, and that's the sort of that's the condition.
My final question, given the subject matter, because it's such a serious film, was it ever any sort of attempts to lighten the mood at Offset? You were trying to sort of keep things quite,
Well, behind the
as
camera
fun as you can.
Behind the camera was extraordinary fun. Again, that's how it was. I mean, there's work and there's play. Behind the camera was extraordinary fun. But we're dealing with a movie about addiction. So there are funny moments in the film. The date, for example. Things with David, the boss. There are moments of humor, but most of the time we're alone with Brandon, and he doesn't like himself that much, and he's going through a tough time.
I've been told to wrap up now, so I'm going to have to leave you guys. But nice to speak to you.
Cheers, man.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you.